won something?
They're going to win something, yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Jabron, or Coach Jibs, aka. And I got a very special episode for you guys today. It's actually our 200th episode. Woot woot. Big round of applause if I had like the drops, but I don't. But Coach Steve, man, like it's been a crazy journey. Like, you have anything to say on that?
Oh yeah, man. Like I said, we started this like in 2019, and we were just messing around at the beginning here, and now we are 200th episode in here. I think if you go to the next slide, it might say some more about the 200th episode. But we've done a lot of fun things here. Football and all. Episodes. The website we have. We added different kind of podcasts over the last 4 years now. We've added Coach John to the team, wherever he disappeared to just now.
I think I accidentally kicked him. I don't have my mouse.
Good to know. Okay, well, we'll try to get him back in a second. We've had obviously a ton of guests, one that we will be mentioning very shortly tonight. And, of course, we've had the great shows with the mock draft and the charity pot-a-thon we had last year. So, yeah, this is fun. I've been enjoying doing it, and it's been enjoying to meet new people out there and just talk football with them. So, 200th episode, I am thrilled.
Hell yeah, brother. It's been a hell of a grind. But until Coach Sean gets back, we'll get into our other guest. His name happens to be John as well. John, what's going on, brother?
Hey, congratulations on the 200th show. It's great to be invited on. And thank you. I mean, having me on. This is my favorite month of the year. Baseball is kicked off, or first pitch, I should say. We have the draft coming up. Free agency is over. I just love it. I love April, and I'm always willing to talk the rookies.
Absolutely. Love it.
Sorry, John, I kicked you off.
I was wondering what happened. I'm like, why is Green black?
Oh,
what's
Lord
up?
have mercy.
Congrats on the 100th episode, everybody. I got my little champagne here, so I'm gonna pop a little bit of the for the occasion. 200
I just got a bottle. What am I doing? I think I have one, but it's a big
episodes is no Joe.
Oh my God! All right, well, I'll sit my water on the side. But anywho, we're gonna get straight into the news. And slight news week, guys, but we're going to talk about some wide receivers first. AJ Green re-signed with the Arizona Cardinals, and we had Sammy Watkins signing with the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if any of those two moves kind of move your boat or anything in any matter. But then we saw Derek Carr get a nice 3-year extension with Oakland, and then some sad news, but Noah Fant's 5th-year option was picked up. Sadly, he has Drew Lock as his quarterback still. And then Marlon Mack, sleeper favorite, signs with the Houston Texans. So not really like crazy thing for dynasty-wise. I think Sammy Watkins probably could make an impact in Green Bay with these vacated targets and I guess a new opportunity for a wide receiver. But if you guys have anything else you want to say about these news, go on ahead.
I'm happy for Derek Carr. I've always been a Derek Carr supporter, so I'm happy that he got his extension and they locked him up in with the Raiders. So, but other than that, I think for fantasy, the AJ Green, Watkins, Noah Fant, all of those guys, none of them really the needle.
I think the AJ Green brings something to the table. I mean, he did have 800 yards last year on his first time in the new offense in over a decade. I mean, again, I'm not saying he's going to be much, but there is potential in dynasty that where I think at some point people were starting to like kind of drop AJ Green. They were kind of done with him, but I mean, he could provide maybe decent wide receiver 4 numbers with Kyler Murray if he plays, and especially a good, decent bye week option. So I was intrigued he actually went back there. So
I'm surprised he has that much left in the that he wants to go back. Like I just thought, at what point does AJ say, all right, like I'm not really like a superstar anymore. I'm not gonna be a focal point of offense, but maybe he enjoys just being a role guy, and he fits the role well. I mean, you're right. He did do enough in Arizona to make an impact. I just don't think no one's clamoring, especially when we're gonna do it with this wave of new wide receivers coming in. I just think there's so the dish depth at wide receiver in the L right now that AJ Green not gonna be someone on an SC team that like makes a huge impact. If you get lucky on a week, or you get lucky on flex and he scores a touchdown, you're happy. But that's not where I'm at.
I hear you. I just think AJ Green's probably doing it for like, I wouldn't say like his manhood, but he wants to prove something. Like he was injured for those 2-3 years, and like he was cast aside basically, and he wanted to kind of re-up with a new love, and the Cardinals showed him some production. And I guess at the end of the day, like if he doesn't find a good deal, or if it's not like a win now team like the Cardinals, I wouldn't leave either.
John, you got anything for us, man?
Yeah, I just was thinking a lot about Derek Carr, because that's the first year I published my draft profiles, was 2014. And I was looking back in that first draft, in the first round that I profiled was Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, and then Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo were in the second round. And you could argue that Garoppolo and Carr, I mean, realistically, they've had the best career out of those 5 players. And I'm glad the Raiders, maybe now Carr has the team around him and the coach, because there have been flashes of brilliance. He can drive you nuts. I as a fantasy owner, anytime he can poop the bed with 180 yards and no touchdowns. But if you look at the macro, Derek Carr's had a nice NFL career. He just needed some players around him and a coaching staff that maybe he can make a difference now and get this team back into the play. Maybe win a few games in the playoffs.
Hey, anything's possible. That division's loaded, though, man. So we might be expecting 3 teams out of the division for a couple of years moving forward. But other than that, let's get to the main talk. We're talking dynasty rookie wide receivers, and eventually we'll get to the tight ends. But the quarterbacks and running backs went pretty damn well. And let's get right into the gritty. Starting number 1, your consensus number 1 pick between the 3 of you guys, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State wide receiver. He had 70 receptions for 1,058 yards, 12 touchdowns. He had 4 rush attempts for 76 yards. He's 6 foot tall, 183 pounds. His 40-yard dash was a 4.38. John, or I guess John, you can have the first word on this. What makes Garrett Wilson so elite?
Acceleration and route running. I think he's the best route runner in this class. I have him as Jerry Jeudy and Stephon Diggs. I'm not saying stylistically, but when I'm watching Garrett Wilson, when I'm projecting what he can be, I see Stephon Diggs and Jerry Jeudy. Now, Judy's been handicapped by that Bronco offense. I still don't think we've seen Jerry Jeudy unlocked. But that's a different story for a different talk. I think Garrett Wilson can be a star, 5'11", 183. And what I think is special above all else, when I watch Garrett Wilson, I call it second-level separation. When he's 20 yards down the field, he's open by 4 or 5 yards. He's blowing people away. I mean, there are literally throws deep down the field. There's not a defender on the screen. I mean, that is just unheard of. Now, that won't happen against NFL safeties. But, man, when you see that at the college level and you see his speed, quickness, acceleration, route running, I think he's got everything you want. Just please don't land with the Eagles.
Coach Gibbs is an Eagles fan, so.
Oh, no!
But yeah, I wouldn't want to wish it on him either. Like, we are just the wide receiver death spot. So, like, shout out Rager, but Coach Steve.
Yeah, so I'll be quick. I mean, John said a lot of great things, improving his elite abilities. I mean, one of the other things I love about him is hands. He's got really strong hands. He's got the ability to kind of wiggle and get past defenders once he has the ball in his hands. I mean, these are just added bonuses to his elite abilities. And I think for the most part, from all the prospects, he has probably the least negative advice I have on him, or data that I actually found, is very minimal things that I think just needs the right coaching, like footwork and, adjustments to the ball. I mean, these are minimal things that I think can adjust, but again, they're not terrible. They're just like, instead of them being like a 9, they're like a 6, things that can be worked on very well. But yeah, he's easily the top guy in this class here.
Johnny B, any final words on him?
He might be working on his mic still.
Muted.
I think he's on mute right now.
He's on mute. He's on mute. All right. So till John gets back, can you guys have a comparable NFL Oh, there he is.
Sorry.
There he is.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm still working echo on this double mic. Garrett, well, I mean, you guys explained what I love. I love Garrett Wilson. His route running is elite, and he getting separation early to intermediate range translates well in NFL. And so that's what you want to look for. These guys separate within the sudden movement, first couple steps in a phone booth, and that's 20 yards, like John was talking about. Long separation is different. It's a different level of athlete. 50-50 ball guy. It's a different type of freak. You know what I'm saying? But if you can win short and intermediate range, I think Garrett Wilson has that skill and has that ability to, at the NFL in those ranges, which can translate to, like you said, Stephon Diggs. We talked about him. He's not the biggest guy, not the strongest guy, but he is tough and he's an amazing route runner. These things can translate to the next level. Garrett Wilson is probably the safest prospect. I tried to, think as well from a fantasy perspective is where does he go? And I think Garrett Wilson's going to go pretty high. He's going to have a high draft capital next year, and that means a lot if teams are going to draft him and build around him and know what they're doing with him. He's not going to be a beast.
I also think he's versatile. I think you could play him basically at the inside, the X, and the Y. I don't think he's a full-time X. But if you put him in motion, you want to get a better matchup out on a corner. I think you can play him in a lot of different spots, and he can be successful in all those spots.
He can line up all over the field, and it's so exciting, and that's sexy, and that's what makes great too. Is Diggs isn't just side. You'll watch Diggs line up on the side. You'll watch Diggs everywhere, and create those mismatches. So if he gets in the right system, right coach, and says, "Look, have this guy win early in the route, and do whatever he can with the ball in his hands," you're gonna see some stuff.
Very much agree with that.
All righty. Well.
We love him.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have one.
The only one that we all agree on. So, there's one more we all agree on.
There's one more. It's number 4. But we're gonna get to two of your guys' number 2, and Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. So, Steve, I'll let you get the first word on him. What puts Treylon Burks one notch below Garrett Wilson in your opinion?
For me, because of his ability, how tall he is, I feel like his traits should be better at certain things, and they're not. Like the 50-50 balls for me, when I'm watching it on film, and I do a lot of film analysis, I feel like he gets beat sometimes more than he should for being a big guy and being his weight and height. Again, it's very minimal between these first two guys, but just as overall, what he should be able to do with his size throws me off from him probably being my number 1. And I think that's really where it comes down to, is that there's just some negatives that are easily seen on film that I don't see as much with Garrett Wilson.
Okay. John, you have him number 6. Can you tell me why?
So
the guy looks like a monster to me.
Listen, I can fully admit, I like an idiot. I posted my rankings on Twitter yesterday and got eviscerated for having Treylon Burks at 6. I got eviscerated. God, knew Twitter was not going to be friendly to me at all. But here's the thing, and I have fallen in love with these big, fast 50-50 guys before, and they have been burned, and we've seen them, flame out in the NFL too often lately. And it's whether it's Dean Butler, JJ Whiteside, N'Keal Harry, guys who make a living off of being physical receivers. it translates, works well in college, playing against smaller guys, against different competition. When you get to the pros, it's a little different. You know, he struggle with just imposing his physical will on players. You know, that's one thing that I don't think is gonna. I don't think you know, that's the type of stuff doesn't translate well into the NFL. If a guy's, you know, beating up on college, okay, great. Now you got to go to that in the pros. That's a hard do. I don't get worried too because Arkansas schemed a lot of things specifically for Treylon Burks. But that's really all they had in Arkansas. To me, it was like, you know, they would give him options and everything he can handle. I don't know if he's gonna into an offense and walk into an NFL team and gonna say, yeah, let's give him everything he possibly handle. Let's get him all in bubble screens. Let's get him the ball short space. Let's get him the ball deep. Let's do everything with him. So I worry that his with limited route tree, his limited skill set, and then the fact that he makes calling card off being big and physical, I just worry. So and then. Not that he can't be a good player. He can turn out to be awesome. You know, I said similar things of A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown ended up being tremendous. You know, DK Metcalf, tremendous. You know, these guys, it can happen. I just get worried. I just get a little worried. I'd have other prospects to me that are more bulletproof, a little bit more safer for see. But I will, if Treylon Burks hits, he's going to hit serious way for fantasy.
Oh, okay. Well, other John, do you have any closing remarks or anything that wasn't said that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I love Treylon Burks. One quote that I always go back to, and I believe it's from George Young, the former general manager of the Giants, but my old man brain, sometimes I forget where I read these or hear these things. If you don't draft size and speed, you're going to end up small and slow. And that's no way to win a Super Bowl. You've got to be big and fast. And I understand. I love Garrett Wilson and Stephon Diggs. And I don't want 3 Treylon Burks. I don't want 3 of them. I want a simpatico in my offense. I want different wide receivers with different skill sets. You know, Randy Moss, Wes Welker. We're perfect together, right? When you had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, they were perfect together. Speaking of Treylon Burks. Oh, how about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? They're perfect because they're so different. So Treylon Burks is going to be landing spot dependent. That I completely agree with. If we get an uncreative coach that puts him out on the X, I'm done. I'm out. We need a coach that is going to use him like Stephon Diggs, but understand that he's not Stephon Diggs. And what I mean by that, he's got to go in jet motion. You got to put him on the outside. You got to line him up in the slot. You got to give him funky, quick screen passes. Remember Demaryius Thomas with Peyton Manning. Bam, got that screen pass, gone, 70 yards, right? First defender missed, 2 blocks down the field, gone. There's a high ceiling. There's a big floor. Why I have him below Wilson? Wilson has, I think, a much higher floor, but I don't think his ceiling is as high. Last thing I'll say. Treylon Burks needs to get with the quarterback who has chutzpah. What I mean by that. Daniel Jones is afraid to throw into coverage. Alex Smith, when he was with the Chiefs and the 49ers, was afraid to throw into coverage. When you have a player like Treylon Burks, my friends, you got to throw him the goddamn ball if he's one-on-one. I don't care who's covering him. Let the man make a play. I'm telling you right now, if he falls to Green Bay or Kansas City, he's going to be the number 1 dynasty wide receiver off the board. Because Patrick Mahomes, when he sees Burks in single coverage 20 yards down the field, let me tell you, boys, Mahomes is going to let it rip.
This is true.
Daniel Jones would be like, oh, I don't know. Maybe, I'm sacked.
No, fumble. You got it wrong.
Throw him the ball.
I was going to.
Now, I don't think they should draft him because they have other needs. Well, they could at number 10. Zach Wilson ironically, has too much chutzpah. But he would throw the ball to Treylon Burks.
John, I actually listened to the Dynasty Dorks podcast this morning on my way to work because I'm a good friend with Dave, and I know you were on it, and I was like, I have to make sure John says that because that is so true. That is so true about Treylon Burks, and I'm glad you did. So
yeah, there's too many quarterbacks who won't throw it when the guy. I mean, that's what from Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Aaron Rodgers, every great quarterback. When you have your all-star wide receiver, you just love throwing the ball, man. Just throw. Remember Terrell Owens from Jeff Garcia or Steve Young against the Packers in the playoff game, like between a safety and a corner. Just throw it to Terrell Owens. Let him score the game-winning touchdown.
Well, you know who's going to be another wide receiver who you're going to want to throw it up for them to score a touchdown? Drake London out of USC. He had 88 receptions for 1,084 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's 6'4", 219 pounds. He didn't run the 40. John has him ranked as his 3rd wide receiver. Coach Steve has him as his number 5th, and Coach John has him as his number 2 wide receiver. All I've been hearing about is Jets London. So, guys, I don't know if John's ready. Are you ready, John?
I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
That sounds better. Not gonna lie.
Good. I changed my microphone cord. I have extra stuff on deck just in case for such emergency. Nope.
It's a little bit better, but
bummer.
Oh. All right, Steve. Knock it off.
Sorry, John. So I guess I'll go because I do have him the lowest on the totem pole here. For one, I'm just gonna say I don't see why everyone is so in love with Drake London. I get he's the size, 6'4", it's great and everything like that, but I don't know, just for me, I guess in my typical wide receiver, I just don't. I think he's a slow guy. Honestly, I feel like he is more of a Darren Waller type of individual than ends up being like an actual wide receiver. Like I wouldn't be shocked in like 2 years if someone said, Drake London, we want you to go in and play tight end, bulk up and play tight end. I feel like he would be fantastic, honestly, in that position here. And to me, it's just like, there's just things about him, his footwork is not really quick. Watching him run downfield seems like slow. Again, he's a really good wide receiver. I'm saying a lot of negative things on him. He's still my number 5 wide receiver, but I'm just wanted to give you guys the negative side of kind of why I'm kind of not off him or anything like that, but like I'm not as high as the Johns are. It's just some things like that. He's not somebody who's going to get a ton of yards after catch him to his game there. I feel like he might struggle at times to separate from man coverage unless he just beats them with his size. That's the only thing he might be able to do, but he won't beat them with speed. And that's kind of why I have him at 5. I think he has the opportunity and the upside there, but I feel like there's just too many knocks for me to put him in that top 3 category.
That's a respectful opinion. The middleman, John, what you got for me?
I covet versatility. And I've watched a ton of USC football over the last decade. And what is very interesting about Drake London, if you've watched this Trojans passing game, in 2019, Michael Pittman was the X-receiver. And he was peppered with targets, and he ended up being top of the 2nd round to the Colts. Then they moved Amon-Ra St. Brown out to the X. He fell to the 4th round, if my old man memory serves me.
Yes.
And he ended up with the Lions, and we all saw what a brilliant season Amon-Ra St. Brown had coming from the Trojans playing at the X. Well, where was Drake London those 2 years? He was in the slot, and he was nasty. I mean, Drake London, you saw him against these Pac-12 cornerbacks who were like 5'9", and like maybe 190 pounds. Drake London ate him up. But the USC passing game does not go through the slot receiver. So what do? They move him out to the X. How damn good was this guy? In 8 games, I can't believe this number, 119 targets in 8 games. That's silly. 88 receptions. He averaged 11 receptions a game. 6'4", 219. Can't coach size. If you want elite separation, you're not going to get it. But he makes up for it with the physicality. He makes up with it. He's an underrated route runner, and he has incredible hands. Incredible hands. I have him at number 3. I do think you mentioned it, Jibs. I think he's a Jet all the way. I've read some things that who's been talking about it? One of the NFL report, Daniel Jeremiah, who has good friends on the Jets, and he always gets, or Todd McShay has a friend on the Jets, and they always get the Jets draft pick, right? I think he's going to be to the Jets. He's the perfect complement to Elijah Moore. Like, that's simpatico. You got Elijah Moore on the slot, and you got Drake London sitting outside. That is a problem, folks. That is a real big problem. So I like Drake London a ton. Now, okay, if my camera freezes, I'll pop up and come back in. Sometimes I have problems with my camera. But go ahead. Sorry.
John, let's wrap this Drake London deal up. You have him the highest, and give me a good trait and a NFL comp.
So a good trait that I like about him is obviously his size. You can't, but he is a better route runner he gets credit for. He's good off the line. I think he's good hand fighting and can get bees off balance that way. And then no, he's not blow you away with speed, but he's fast enough that he keep the separation he earned off the line. I think it's good, and his NFL comp. I mean, I want to say Mike Evans. It's easy, like big size, but Mike is a decent route runner as well. He's sharp little route runner. Not the fastest guy, and he's lumbering because of his size. But he gets separation at the catch point and get separation when he needs. So that's kind of where I evaluate Drake London. That's what I'd love to see. That's the end. If you could get Mike Evans out of him, you're thrilled.
Coach, there is something that's interesting. Drake London has very late separation. He's sneaky with his elbows and hands. Like, he gets the body separation, and he's got such good hands. So, yeah, if it's just a straight line route, he doesn't get a lot. But late in the route, when the ball's coming, Drake London's sneaky with the body and stuff and gets that separation.
This is true.
That's a damn fact. That is a damn fact. We're going to go over to number 4th wide receiver on our list. It is Chris Olavey. He is the other running mate of Garrett Wilson at Ohio State. 65 yards, 936 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 foot tall, 187 pounds, 4.39, slightly slower. John has him 5. Coach Steve has him 3. Coach John has him 3. I'm going to give Coach John the first word. I know this guy, this cat, and like the first thing that comes out of my, or the first thing I see is speed. Like, he's a burner, super burner. But give me some other qualities about him that are going to be good for his future NFL team.
I think we talked about Garrett Wilson in his short area route in that 20 yards. Chris Olave has those long, route really well. I think he can 1 or 2 steps, and then the long speed to get you, has the long speed to get deep. The Tyler Lockett-esque type person. He'll just make you miss real quick, put his foot on the ground, and get up the field, which is important. I think we'll value that, and teams will that. And say, when he initially in the combine ran like a 2.6 unofficial, I was like, my mind melted, and I went, figure this guy's going to be crazy. So I think he is faster than this 40 time in the 40 dash to give him. His game's crazy. So I like Chris Olave a lot. And the two, like I said, I think his long route ability is really good, and getting people at the stem of this route is important.
Guess, John, you're the low guy on Chris Olave, and like you've been mentioning, you like kind of the bigger guys and more versatile wide receivers. Is that a factor given your ranking of them?
Yeah, so my biggest concern with Olave, I don't see the versatility. I think he's your classic wide receiver. Nothing wrong with that. And I think he's a great number 2. I don't think his ceiling is 1,400 yards. I think he's at awesome 900 to 1,100 yards every year. He would be perfect with Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, right? Where Jefferson's the guy, Jefferson's the alpha male, Jefferson's everything you want, and Olavey's sneaky good out there. If you make in my opinion, in my film analysis, you make him the alpha, I think you can shut him down because he's not as versatile as a Diggs. And I don't think you can move him now. Doesn't mean he can't, but it's not on film. 2, this was anecdotal, and then I saw the statistics. Didn't seem to get a lot of yak yardage. And someone said on like Pro Football Focus or something, he had 6 broken tackles all year. He was like the lowest in yak yards all year. Well, what does that tell me? It limits his ceiling. Like, why Treylon Burks? He has yak yardage all over the field. You know, a small corner is not going to bring him down, right? And he's going to gain that extra 8 yards. Olavey goes down like a wet towel. I mean, that bothers me a ton. I want to see a little bit more desire, strength, right? Like, Olavey's like, got the ball. Okay, I'm down. I just don't. I like a little more fight in my receivers.
Coach Steve, brother, man, you're also, I guess, 3 with John. Do you have any closing words, any good or bad you want to say about him?
I mean, I'm pretty sure John said all the bad things possible about Chris Olavey, to be honest. But I mean, I do. Like I said, you guys mentioned speed and everything like that. I mean, I think what I watched on film, I saw his ability to separate from defenders. He showed me playmaking abilities. Now, there's definitely knocks to, like, you know, you saw his production, 900 yards. I mean, it doesn't scream like, oh, this guy could be a top-tier guy. But what I watched on film, in the right situation, and I think some of these wide receivers need to be in the right situations to really excel at the next level. Like, I could see him being a slightly bigger Brandon Cooks to some extent, honestly. And Brandon Cooks had a pretty good career as the 1 sometimes, and mostly as the 2. I guess he's been 1 a lot, but he's been the 2 more than enough times, especially early on in his career. So I really like it. I really like his ability, and I hope he lands with a team that uses him correctly. And I think he has that playmaking ability in him. That's why I have him at 3.
You know, that's an interesting landing spot, but there's no reason the Texans should take a wide. He'd be a nice number 2 to Brandon Cooks, but the Texans have so many needs. And where their draft picks fall, I don't think it makes sense. But that would be a nice spot to play behind Brandon Cooks.
And if he ends up in Green Bay or Kansas City, which is likely, you're talking top 3 guy anyway. So I mean, just in the landing spot alone. So I think that people might not like his overall, you know, talent at elite ability, but I think he ends up in a situation where he can show that he has that ability that he hasn't shown fully yet.
Hey now.
Open
24 hours was good, guys.
Let's keep us going.
But on to the next one, like Jay-Z says. Jameson Williams, guys. Alabama product, 79 receptions, 1,572 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's 6'1", 179 pounds, which is pretty damn light. You all have him 4. Steve, you had the last word on the last couple, so I'll let you have the first one on this one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, so this is the last one of the entire rankings here that we actually all agree on. But with Jameson Williams, there's a lot of great qualities about him, and people loving if he lands obviously in that Green Bay Kansas City situation, which is very likely. I mean, you have a big catch radius, someone who is fast, someone who just has that extra burst off the line there and through his breaks. Someone who has an exciting deep play ability to his game, someone who has that home run ability, someone that could beat any defender on a one-on-one matchup. He's got a lot of great ability to him. Again, there's some knocks to him now, like, you know, the injury. He's coming off an injury right now. That's a big concern. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts about the rookies, and one thing they don't mention that he has seemed to have like a fumbling problem. I've seen him in film a lot, fumble the ball more often than not. A lot of them luckily went out of balance, but it just seemed like he fumbled more often than people have ever really mentioned it. Again, he has that big upside, but his floor, I'm not really sure where his floor lands. And that's kind of why I have him at 4, but he has that upside there. And if he comes back from this injury, he could be a real exciting player in the NFL.
Okay. All right. Well, which John wants to go first?
I will defer.
Yes, sir. Go on.
All right. So if we had a combine and a 40 time with Jameson Williams, I probably have him at number 2. Because I do think his deep vertical route running is such a valuable asset in the NFL. His ceiling is Deshaun Jackson. And I really do believe he's what the Raiders thought Henry Ruggs was. He's better than Henry Ruggs. When the Raiders drafted Henry Ruggs, they thought they were drafting Jameson Williams. They just didn't know it was 2020. He's the guy. He's special. Look at what he can do for you deep. And if you have a quarterback who's willing to chuck it deep, and you have a creative offense coordinator who can scheme him deep. I mean, Alabama, there were just plays where he's blown people away. Part of it's the Alabama scheme. Part of it is the way they run their offense. His ceiling's unbelievable. But the ACL bothers me. Now, it's better than it was 10 years ago, the recovery. So he should be back. If I'm a team at the bottom of the first round, that means I'm bad. And that means I probably need help in the passing game. He probably should stay on the sideline the first 8 weeks of the year. He went out in the championship game, so that's like January 8th. You probably should not push him in training camp. He's a rookie. I really think you're looking at 2023 for him to be a rock star. And a team that could do it is a playoff team that doesn't need him immediately. Yeah, by November, he's on the field. But maybe he's on the field for 20 plays a game. Get him used to game speed. Get him used to game planning. And then get him in 2023 as a rock star. But man, if I had the combine results, he's my number 2 because he can be special.
Yeah. I'm with John. If there was injury, I think he would be fighting for the number 1 spot, in my opinion. He's that special. He's that talented. And so sucks that he's injured. Sucks that it's going to slide. But in the long-term fantasy and for Dynasty, be a better thing. He might land in a better situation because he's going to slide down a draft board. He's not going to end up playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's not end up playing for some crap organization. He could fall somewhere nice and team that will take their time to develop him correctly will get themselves a superstar in that late long speed distance type route in which we've seen is changes how a defense play their offense, which is enable. The threat of that changes how a play you, and that's important. So I think Jameson Williams is, for today's NFL, is one of the perfect sort of complements in an offense.
It's crazy. A year ago, Ohio State had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, and then they bring on Jackson and Jigbo Smith, who's my number 1 Devy wide receiver. He's the best receiver, I believe, in all of college football right now, and he's a sophomore. The talent that is going through Ohio State is just insanity.
It's a factory. It's a factory right now.
Factories.
Ain't DBD no more. Let's get into the next guy. I guess this is kind of, I'll say, like a tier, definitely like drop off in the talent. So Christian Watson, 2021, he seems very versatile wide receiver, 43 receptions, 801 yards, 7 touchdowns. He ran 15 times for 114 yards and had another touchdown. He's 6'4", 208 pounds. He ran a 4.36. Although he's our consistent 6 wide receiver, the rankings show that John has him 9, Coach Steve and Coach John have him 8. Coach John, I'll give you the first word on Christian Watson. Why isn't he in the same conversation as, I guess, I don't know who your lowest guy is, but
yeah,
we'll say Jameson Williams and Chris Olave.
Sure. So the only knock that I have on Christian Watson, A is the company he was going against. I like to see people compete the highest level in college. Not that you can't do it from a small school. It's just more difficult. And I think it's also his concentration when he's going to catch the ball, he goes with concentration something, and he's worried about the next move. He's too worried about how he's going to make the man miss. He's too worried about and I just see things like that you can coach it out of him. Great if he lands in the right time. I think he could be an Oscar. But he to me is another Treylon Burks. I'm willing to be wrong on Christian Watson. I'm totally willing to be wrong on him. And if he gets to the next level and he succeeds, he becomes a superstar, I'm happy for him. He's got all the tools. He's 6'4", 4'3". He's perfect. He's got everything. But to me, when I'm into this evaluation process, especially pre-draft, I have to take into account competition and little things and little knocks. But overall, if a team takes a chance on him, as look, we want this project to build. He has the raw to be a superstar. You can't deny that.
Coach Steve is the being in at what is that, D2 or whatever, being in a Division II school, does that scare you away like Coach John does?
Yeah, I mean, not fully. It definitely is a reason why he's lower in our rankings because of that to some extent there. I mean, the level of competition is definitely not as great if he was in a D1 school going against Alabama and Clemson and all these other great schools. That's definitely a knock on him overall. I mean, there's some other things, his, lack of focus at times could be a situation where he kind of drops the ball at times. His lack of ability to kind of stop and go isn't there, what I was able to watch on film, but he's got a nice blend of speed and size to his game there, quick footwork, someone that made some improvements this year, which I really liked. And then his versatility on the offense, I think, could be very interesting with like end arounds and different things like that. So we'll see. And the speed was there, which is good, but he has that ability, but we'll see if he can actually do against tougher opponents.
Johnny boy, is this going to be another Laviska Shenault, or is it going to be a different story?
Oh, and I like Laviska and Boyd, but I think Coach Steve mentioned it. You don't want him landing in Jacksonville, so that's a whole different story for a different day, man. Laviska, different players. Laviska was more physical, and he was he was more punishing. And there was always some question to me how you use Laviska Shenault because he wasn't a perfect route runner. Watson, I think we know how to use him. One, he's going to be a kick return from day one. You're going to use him there. He can challenge a defense vertically from day one. I mean, if all you're having him do is run 9 routes and run deep down the sideline every play, rookie, that's okay. Sorry, my dog's barking. That will be okay. I'm worried about, can he step up the level of competition with the complexity of the NFL game? It might take him 2 years, because even though North Dakota State's the best FCS program, they don't have an Alabama passing offense. They're not LSU, Ohio State. Those young men are NFL ready. They run the full route trees. They understand the complexity. They do everything. He's not running that with the Bisons. It's just not that kind of offense, right? So it might take him a while. I do like him. I don't have a first-round grade. I will be a little surprised if he goes off in the first, but there might be a scouting department, coaching staff that loves him, so maybe he goes in the first, but I have a second-round grade.
Ooh, wow. All right. Well, I guess he's an interesting cat. Hopefully he gets to a right scheme and a good fit for him. But we'll get into our following guy, Sky Moore. 95 receptions, 1,292 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's 5'11", 189 yards. He didn't run the 40. Coach Steve, you're going to start us off on him first because you're outside your top 10. Why is the sky falling for you?
I I guess compared to everyone else, he's fallen, but he is number 11 on my list, so he's right there. Everyone is really high on him, and they're like, people are just gushing over him. And there's a lot of great qualities that I'm sure both Johns will mention in a few. But, someone, for me, the film that I watched on him overall, I mean, there's just some things about it, his run after catch ability. I just don't see it being fully an elite ability that he has. Someone's kind of modest outside of his breaks. And, he's not going to burn you downfield consistently. And one thing is, I will be interested to see where he lands, because if he lands in a situation where he doesn't need to play right away, I don't see him getting on the field early on in his career, because I don't know if he's somebody who can play special teams to that full ability that some of these other guys might be able to, as like a punt return or kick return kind of guy. So there's just small qualities, and that he just doesn't see that. I don't see that top 10 ability in his game personally. I like him. I'd be interested to see where he lands and if he can build off the success he's had over the last couple seasons, but I'm just not there yet.
All right. Well, ain't nothing wrong with all that. John B. John B's on mute. John. Yes, John, what you got?
So it's funny. I think his run after the catch ability is pretty good. That's one of the things that I liked about Sky Moore is his contact balance. And when the ball in his hands, he's hard to take down. That's, this that I liked. It ran hard for a wide receiver. And, these are qualities that I try and look for, because when you're a guy at 5'11", I say 5'11" is a littler guy. He's way bigger than, but when he's at 5'11" is a smaller guy, you need to be able to have strong contact balance. You need to be able to stay on your feet. You need to be able to do all this stuff that you look for with the ball in your hands. He is not this guy. He's not the most elite route runner. That stuff I get. But in the right system, the right team can do enough and pull off out of him that I think he's a pretty safe prospect. He's a good football player. He plays special teams. He can do a lot for your organization. So that's why I have him where I have him. I think he's gonna. John talked about a lot, and I think that's a smart point to just say about the whole class as in general. There's not a lot of superstars. There's not a lot of Jeffersons in this, but there are a lot of wide receiver 2s and 3s. Sky Moore could be a team's 2-3 and be great at role.
Okay. There's nothing wrong. You can't shoot for the moon. You just want to get in the roster spot, and being number 2, number 3, or just getting the active roster if you don't have that draft capital is just pretty damn good in my estimation. George, well,
can I? I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance, Coach or Jib.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. So my first thought is, when I was studying Dwayne Eskridge last year, I'm upset that I didn't notice Sky Moore. And then this year, if you were playing college fantasy football like I do, he just blew up. Like, he just became, oh my God, the numbers that he's putting up. So at the end of the year, I put him in, once I heard he declared, I put him in my production model, and all of a sudden I was like, holy cow. 170 career receptions, check. 14.5 yards per reception, check. 70% catch rate. This is the stat I love. 39% team aerial dominator. No one could stop the man. He was the Broncos offense, and no one could stop him. And this is a very sticky stat that I just have added. Receiving yards per team pass attempt. You're hoping for 2.5. He has 3.5. He blows that away. So he checks every product, no pun intended, skies every production number that I'm looking for. Then he ran a 4.41, and he was 195 pounds. Holy smokes. Everything I'm looking for. And I love the tape. The tape's great. I mean, he might go. I have him above Watson. I like him more than Watson. He might go. He's worth the first round pick by Kansas City. I can't imagine if he got to Kansas City what it might be like. But I like Sky Moore a lot.
Oh wow. Well, I'm glad you got your point off, and I'm sorry I kind of
No,
shooted
it's
you
all
off.
good.
But hey, man, I guess like Sky Moore could be a value for dynasty owners, and
Oh, if he's there in the second round, oh, you got to pluck him, man.
okay, taking note. All right. Well, you could tell like I'm just a casual because I know George Pickens. All the guys I know are just like rock the bottom down in your rankings for some reason. So George
Yeah, nothing
Pickens.
wrong with
Oh
that.
well, he didn't play last year. I think he had an ACL injury or something. If I
He
my
played.
memory.
He played
played?
in 5 games, but most of his production came in the national championship with 1 catch,
Okay.
like 50
Well,
yards.
2021 stat guys: 5 receptions, 107 yards, no touchdowns. He's 6'3" tall, 6'3", 195 pounds. He ran a 4.47. Coach John has a number 5. Coach Steve has a number 10, and our guest John has a number 10. John, since I kind of shooted you off, I'll let you get the first one on this one. Oh, you don't want it?
No, I'll take it. I just
Take
laughed
it,
at
take
that. You didn't. Thank you. Like, that's nice of you. The first thing you notice with Pickens, he can be a bully, and that's good and bad. If you remember, and I watch way too much football, against Georgia Tech, his freshman year, he likes to chat from what, from listening to opponents, reading about him. So I guess him and a cornerback of the Yellow the Yellow Jackets have been chattering all game long. And I think it was late in the game or third quarter, he got in a scuffle. I'm just going to be kind. Outside the boundaries, and Pickens got thrown out of the game. And then I think he had to miss the bowl game or something for it because Georgia always finishes their season with Georgia Tech unless they're in the SEC championship game. So there's the good side where he's strong, bully, and he's intimidating, but then he does let it go a little too far. So that's a concern. I've been reading things that he's not coachable. I mean, that's hard for me. I've never been on a practice field with him, but that's not a good sign. You don't want to read that per se. Also, he's 2 years removed from his great freshman season. And look at you, he basically missed the vast majority of last year. So, but he did show us that, 4.47 at the combine in the 40. So there is some injury concerns. I really believe we're going to know everything what the NFL thinks. I think he could go end of the first round. He could go beginning of the third round. I think that's how wide of an outcome George Pickens. Draft Capital is going to tell me everything about my final value on George Pickens.
All right.
Yep.
John.
Yeah, I have him ranked here because I do think he's going to be on that higher end of the spectrum of draft capital. I think that teams are going to fall in love with him. He has all the tools. He did at a young age at Georgia. He can be that at Alpha X receiver. John talked about it. He beats up on run plays. Watch him it's amazing, dude, how physical and just he loves to play football. He's that old adage, he's a dog. It's like, yeah, he is, man. He just loves him. And so I look for that. And you come out and the only questions marks I had on him was health and speed. He answered those questions for me in a 4.47 and coming back championship game. Those are 2 question marks that were answered for me. So if I'm a GM and I'm an evaluator, I'm drafting him in the middle or back of the first. If that happens, I think having him ranked at 5 makes more sense. The problem with these pre-draft rankings are so difficult because they're so difficult. We have no idea where these, but George Pickens is going to be on that higher end of that. He does have a wide range. Teams don't like him, and he did interview well at the combine, and his medicals didn't go, and things like. But in terms on film and playing football and between the lines, he's got everything you want, in my opinion. So that's why I have ranked so high. I think the teams are he's gonna get high, and teams are gonna fall in love with him, and they're gonna try to squeeze him at X for an offense, and. That's why I might have him higher than most people because I love the film and I love guys play hard and he plays every play he's going 110%. His motor is crazy.
Coach Steve, is there anything that scares you about him?
I mean, I think everyone's kind of said for the most part. I mean, there's definitely some things he needs to work on. I could love to see some better route running ability to his game. He plays physical, but I feel like at times when there's some 50-50 balls, he kind of doesn't really perform to the physical ability that he can be. I mean, I think John mostly said all the real negatives on it, and I do like him. I feel like there's a lot of upside, but his floor isn't high at all.
There is,
personally.
there's a low floor, and that bothers me too a little bit.
That's why he's lower. If I get him in the second round too, with that potential, whatever depends where he goes, I'm gonna be thrilled. But the floor is just, I don't know how far that goes down.
Oh, well, we'll find out in a week and a half or so, right, guys? John Mechie the third, 96 receptions, 1,142 yards, 8 touchdowns, another Alabama product. He's 5'11", 187 yards, didn't run the 40. John has him at 8. Coach Steve has him at 9. Coach John has him at 9. Coach Steve, do you think this will be like Waddle 2.0, or is he just a whole another cat?
Well, Jibs, you forgot the word at the bro. First word,
fantasy. Well, I can't see. I can't read.
Well, if you guys weren't listening when I posted the draft sheet on Twitter, guys, we're going to give away a little free personalized podcast. Whoever tells our DMs, Coach's Fantasy, these 2 words here. The first one is fantasy. We'll get you the next one in a few minutes, but I kind of wanted to make sure we got those in. So John Mechie, I really like John Mechie. I feel like he kind of is underrated to somewhat in this class. Personally, I feel like he has that top tier elite route running ability to his game there, that he can run the entire tree. Someone who can, track the ball very well, can make defenders miss, snaps off really good on his breaks with some quick angles. He's tough. I feel like he kind of got overlooked due to Jameson Williams coming there and just exploding with Alabama, and kind of took the back seat where it kind of was going to be when we last year after the national championship, when they were in it, we thought, all right, John Mechie is going to be the next great Alabama wide receiver we're all going to talk about. But unfortunately, Jameson Williams came in and kind of ruined that for him a little bit there. And I think he did get injured at some point during the season too, so that kind of knocked him down a little bit more as well. He has some injury concerns. If I'm not mistaken, he has like an enlarged heart, which apparently is okay. But he tore his ACL this December, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did. I think it was in the SEC championship game. He tore the ACL. He was not in the championship game against Georgia, but I do believe he played in the SEC championship game, but got hurt in it.
Right. So if things like that throws me off him, but I feel like he's underrated because of the qualities I kind of already mentioned. But could he be Jalen Waddle? I mean, I don't think he's gonna as fast as Jalen Waddle, if I'm not mistaken. But he could be a really good wide receiver if given the opportunity in the next level.
Understood. All right. Guess John. I just don't know your last name. I'm sorry.
You can't take honorable mention, Coach John, because we have it.
Yeah, so I can't find a good fitting for you. I'll give you a second word.
So I don't like to use this word much because it can mean so many different things. But he's a professional receiver. And I think an NFL team is going to like him a lot more than the Twitterverse, or when you plug him into your model, or those who grade route running and film studies. You know what you're getting with John Mechie. He's going to work hard. You can play him at the Y. You can play him inside. If you have an injury and you got to play him at the X, he can play there for a game. He's going to go to work for you. He's not going to make obvious drops. I don't think he's going to make a lot of mistakes. He's not Waddle. He's not Judy. But he's very good. I have a second round grade. He's the type of guy you want him. I think he's going to have like a nice 8 to 10 year career in the NFL, barring injuries, of course. But he's going to come in a nice floor, 700 yards a season with about 1,000 yards ceiling. He's never going to be a star, But man, if he's your third receiver, oh my God, he's gold. He can be a very good second receiver. But man, you put him in 3 receiver sets with like a Justin Jefferson, or if he would be perfect like Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is such a good receiver, and he's better with Higgins and Jamar Chase. If Mechie could get into a similar situation, right? What if he lands with Justin Herbert, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? That's the type of, in the second round, that's what you want. He becomes the Tyler Boyd of the San Diego Chargers.
Wow.
I was just thinking Chargers in my head too. That's so fun.
I mean, they need another receiver, right?
Yeah.
All those guys are good, but none of them are great. They need a really good third receiver.
Any last words on John Mechie, John?
No, I got nothing. John kind of, I mean, I think he is a high floor, ceiling, great product. I think fantasy players won't value him as much as real coaches and GMs will value him.
Yes.
It's just how it is. And there's a lot of players that'll end up but he's going to walk into a team and be a solid 3 day one, and you don't worry about it.
You know, I have so much Tyler Boyd on my dynasty team, and then he wasn't good right away, right? I actually got him off waiver wires in some leagues, and I just love him as my 3rd and 4th receiver every week.
Sure.
Yeah, until he gives you a goose egg when Higgins and
he does do
Chase
that.
has 55 points together. David Bell, I believe he played at Purdue last year. 93 receptions. He had 1,286 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's 6'1", 212 pounds. He ran a 4.65. Get this man out of here. John has him outside the top 10 probably because of that 4.65. Coach Steve kind of likes him because he was a finalist for the Bill Award. And Coach John's right in the middle, like porridge. So we're going to go with Coach John. I'm gonna let you get the first word. You're the middleman. You're gonna be my mediator. We're gonna have to duke it out later.
Yeah, David Bell is an interesting prospect to me. He looks on film. You want more out of him. I just the 40 time scares. Hard to find high end elite talent in the NFL that runs 6'5", and it's just. That's the only knock on him to me. I just think that's a very limiting factor. And his route tree is okay. His route tree is good, but not great. And if you're going to be elite at route, you better have the speed to back it up. And he does. So I just think he's one of those guys that's going to be, get him out as a, 3rd round guy, makes it to team and I think there's a lot of struggle with David Bell. I don't know if he's going to walk into a team and be a point ever, and I certainly don't think he can develop into that. I think he's just a very limited player as he is.
All right. Coach Steve, give me all the great things you could say about David Bell, and then we're going to let John just poop on you.
I get the 40 time kind of definitely scares people off. I mean, it's definitely not good. Fun fact though, Anquan Bolin ran a 4.72 at his combine. Look like Anquan Bolin is down today. But again, that doesn't pertain to David Bell at all, but maybe it could at one point today. Again, I feel like he has that ability to be very versatile in an offense, can play inside and outside, very productive at Purdue. Someone who's got great balance control, someone who can run those more complex routes, can gain that ability, can gain the ability to gain yards after the catch here. Someone who's very rhythm in his route running ability there. Someone who can kind of, get through coverages and kind of find himself especially in zone coverages very well. Played very well. I mean, he had 11 games, 11 of his 17 games, he had 100 yards. Good production overall. I mean, he's someone who I think can make adjustments on those back shovel throws there. And he seemed to be just a guy when you watch on film that commands the ball and did very well with it. And that's kind of why I have him up there at 6. I feel like, people, really liked Rashad Bateman last year, and I feel like he could be a Rashad Bateman, but maybe better.
All right, lay the wood, John. Lay the wood.
Well, so I fell in love with David Bell while I was scouting Rondell Moore. And if you remember 3 seasons ago when David Bell was a freshman, Rondell Moore got hurt. And then David Bell ascended into the alpha role on the Boilermakers as a true freshman. And he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable as a freshman. Then the last 2 years, he's been great. When the season ended, my production model loved David Bell. Just like Sky Moore, he hit all these thresholds, 232 career receptions, 31% aerial dominator rating. I mean, just unbelievable, right? 6'1". I knew he was over 200 pounds, loved it. Then he goes to combine. And it's not just the 40. Acceleration and burst matter. In the 20-yard shuttle, he ran a 4.57. I'm looking at a 4.20 as my benchmark. Maybe if he was a 4.3, he ran a 4.57. That's bad. Then the 3-cone drill, my benchmark 6.9. He ran a 7.14. That's, to me, a bigger concern. And I don't like the 40, don't get me wrong. That's not a great time. But what it tells me, his ceiling's limited. And I'm a big fan of his game. I love how he plays. He's physical. He's got great hands. He's good at the catch point. He's tough. He's fearless in the middle of the field. If you've seen him, he gets whacked in the middle of the field at times at Purdue. He's also a contortionist. He makes some unbelievable grabs. He's like falling out, outside the boundary with his hands, and he's got his feet in. I mean, he is a very good receiver, but his ceiling is capped because of the lack of elite athleticism. That's why I have him outside the top 10.
All right. That's more than enough reasons. But on to the next person. We're kind of running short on time. Jahan Dachshund, basically 91 receptions, 1,182 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's 5'11", 178 pounds, 4.43, 40-yard dash. He seems like a burner to me. John, one of your favorites, you have him at 6, both outside the top 10 for Steve, Coach Steven, Coach John. John, quick word on Jahan Dachshund. Why is he in your top 6?
He's a great home run hitter. He's not the alpha male. He's not going to be your X receiver. He's an inside Y receiver, motion receiver. Watch the game against Ohio State in 2020, so 2 years ago. I think he scored 3 touchdowns in that Saturday night game. And he was against NFL-level defensive backs. And his numbers, he had 1,182 yards. Sean Clifford, his quarterback, over or under through him, I bet you he lost 300 yards or left on the field because Sean Clifford could not get him the ball. There are times where he's wide open and his quarterback just missed him. They don't have good quarterback play last year at Penn State. Jahan Dachshund is a special route runner, but I am concerned about his size, 178. I really wanted him at 185. I mean, that to me, I know it might not sound like a lot, but 185 can make a big difference. But I do like his route running deep down the field.
Well, we're going to have to get him some meal plans.
Yeah,
That's Johnny boy.
Yeah,
Give me some good words of faith. Why didn't he crack your top 10?
So it's funny. He's another name that I got eviscerated for on Twitter for not having in my top 10. He's 11, everyone. Calm down. He's right there. He's not that far off. Everyone breathes. He's 11 for me. He's right there. The only thing, and John brought up, is I think he's limited. He's very not one-dimensional is not the right word because he is multifaceted, but he can't line up everywhere on the field. He's just not going to be that. And the right teams can scheme him and the right teams can get him the ball. He can do great things. But in terms of pre-process and some pre-draftings, those types of guys always take a hit to me. I'd rather pre-draft. I'd rather rank the Pickens of the world and these other guys a little higher that I can do more. But being said, Jahan Dachshund, what he does well, he does really well. And it's like that. That's, he might have 5 or 6 tricks in the bag, but they're tricks that'll blow your mind. And we saw it, like he said, in the Ohio State game when he went banana.
That was such a good game.
One of those touchdowns, he big off the line of scrimmage, made him fall backwards on his heels, which you rarely see. And he was gone and just cooked the sidelines. And I was like, yeah, okay. So he can do it. He can do these special things, great moments. I just don't know if he's as complete a wide as you really, really want. Light, fast, good.
No. Well, Steve finishes off.
Yeah, I mean, I have him at 12, so that's my lowest guy of all the guys here. So I'm not too far off on him. It's just that when I see him, I don't see a number 1 wide receiver. I see a guy who can be used in an offense very, very well if they get him in the right offense. But I just don't see him as a prototypical wide receiver 1 for any NFL team. He could be probably pretty good 2 or maybe 3. And I feel like he needs to put on some more weight on his game there. That I feel like at the next level, some of these bigger DBs, while he might be able to beat them out, if he gets pushed around way too much, I feel like he kind of gets thrown off his routes way too easily. And again, kind of like Chris Olavey, I feel like he gets tackled. When he gets tackled, he's going down. He's not going to really get you the extra yards. So if you catch him, which sometimes you might not be able to, if you do catch him though, and NFL players can run fast, he's going down very quickly. So
he does. He's not going to fight through a tackle. No,
definitely not. He's that speed, baby.
But he's got upside for sure.
And we're going to get to our final guy, Jaylen Turtlebird, 82
favorite guy of the draft.
1,474 yards, 8 touchdowns. You don't say, Steven. You're going to go first on this one. 6'1", 194 pounds. He ran a 4.49 40. Coach Steve has a number 7. Why do you like him better?
Oh, his route running ability. I think it's one of the more elite route running wide receivers in this class here, honestly. Someone who can run at different levels of speed throughout all 3 levels of the secondary defense. Honestly, I mean, he's someone who can make quick turns, quick adjustments. Just a natural ball. And his ability to naturally track the ball is fantastic. He made a major jump in production this past season. He's got that speed. He showed us already. The 4.49. It's not the best, but it's still pretty good. And he's not someone who's afraid of contested catches. He's a fighter in tough coverage. I'm really looking forward to see where he lands because I'm going to try to grab as many shares as I can during these rookie drafts next month.
Okay. Our guest John, give me one bad thing you don't like about him.
I'm worried about the level of competition. It was so easy in the Sun Belt to beat. He didn't face an NFL level defensive back. So I think there'll be a curve. There's a curve he's got to overcome to make it. But I do like him. I mean, he's outside my top 10, but I do like Jaylen Turtlebird. I think I have a 2nd round grade if my memory serves me.
All right. Johnny, so knock us out the park.
So he's and I'll admit, I haven't seen enough on him to really put a good grade and good film on. The little bit I've watched, I'm excited and I like it. But like John said, I always get worried competition. When you blow some of these the plays I watched, these home run hits that he had and some of these great routes that I'm like, the defense, it's a blown coverage. The defense isn't paying attention. What's happening here? Why is this guy running free in the middle of the field? And so I question whether it's his skill or that's lack of competition. And that's just the only question mark I have. But the little bit I've watched been impressive. It's certainly he's, if I was to say the sleeper in this class, he's probably the sleeper this year for C. But he's just not as strong to my top 10. He's just he's those guys where if he surprised people, I'd be surprised. If he's come out and Deontay Johnson's way into the NFL, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. This is nice. I like what I'm seeing here. It's great, but I just don't know if I can't pre-draft. I'm not throwing I don't have the balls to my name on him pre-draft. Coach Steve does. That's impressive. That's
had 7 receptions or 143 yards against Tennessee this year.
That's good. That's listen.
Something. It's something.
It's something. It is something. So I commend you.
Good competition as well.
That was a good game by him. That was definitely, I think, his pinnacle performance of his career at South Alabama.
I was like, I did not know where that school was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything. It sounded like a fool. But that's gonna wrap our wide receiver 2022 prospects. And if you guys are still in the search, our second word of the day is coaches. Hear that? Coaches. So now send us a DM and come claim your reward. No, this is not a scam. No, this is not a scam.
There's no scams at the fantasy coaches.
We are all real people.
But I don't even know where I want to go first. As always, you can follow us at www.thefantasycoaches.com, where you can see our podcast, our rankings, our Dynasty podcast as well. You also can follow us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy, where you can eviscerate John for not having certain wide receivers in their top 10. You can eviscerate Coach Steve for having wide receivers you like at number 12. So then, John, can you shout out your Twitter and where they can follow you and your content?
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm so happy to come on. I love this time of the year. Everyone, please follow me on Twitter, GridironSkull91. I could not afford the A and the R when I signed up in 2014. So it's GridironSkull91. If you want to see my written profiles, they are on footballdiehards.com for the 9th year in a row. Check that all out, and includes the model that I alluded to. And you want to see our videos, my partner Matt Hicks and I, we do the Rookie Big Board on YouTube, and we have 40 profiles right now. All the receivers we've talked about, everyone is in a 9 to 11 minute segment. Go to rookiebigboard.com on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Definitely
Coach
check those out, guys.
Steve.
They're really great.
Oh, thank you.
Where can they follow you at, Coach Steve?
You can follow me over on Twitter, Coach Stephen P. Guys, I'm always there to help answer any fantasy questions. I'll post my rankings. I didn't get as much hate as Coach John did, but
weird.
Twitter
was that's weird. That's not like Twitter.
I'll take the criticism, and we'll see what happens at the end of the NFL draft. So,
And John, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me at FTLS_JBats. As always, this was a pleasure. This was a great episode. I love talking rookies. John, this was an honor. I've looked up to you and Matt Hicks for a while now, so this was a ton of fun to chop it up with you guys.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a hell of an episode, guys. Episode 200. It's down in the books. Let's get to 400, 1,000, and
wrong way.
Yay. Bye, guys.
Hey.